the 10 most exciting World Chess Championships. The 10 most exciting World Chess Championships ever. With the upcoming I guess this is an old article. With the upcoming 2018 World Chess Championship between Magnus Carlson and Fabiano Caruana just days away, starting November 9th, Chess.com wanted to know what is the most exciting title match in history. Below is a countdown of the top 10 as we announce one per weekday until the start of the 2018 World Chess Championship. Okay, so I did not read the 10 most exciting matches. I read, I think, what would have been the most exciting matches, but not the 10 World Championship matches. 10th place tie, Capablanca Lasker 1921, Alyakin Capablanca 1927, and Karpov Karpov 1990. 9th place, Carlson versus Karjakin 2016. 8th place, Vinick versus Bronstein 1951. 7th place, Carlson versus Anand 2013. 6th place, Karpov versus Korchnoi 1978. 5th place, Karpov versus Kasparov 85. 4th place, Tal versus Vinick 1960. 3rd place, Karpov versus Kasparov 1984. 2nd place, Karpov versus Kasparov 1987. 1st place, Fischer versus Spassky 1972. All right, let's go. Okay, there were also other World Chess Championships that didn't make our list but got at least one vote. 20th place, Kasparov versus Anand 1995, 2 points. 19th place, Steins versus Chigorin. 18th place, Kramnik Topolov. 17th place, Oiva Alyakin. Tied for 15th place, Baskey Petrosian and Karpov Karpov. Baskey Petrosian 69, Karpov Karpov 86. 14th place, Kramnik Kasparov 2000. 13th place, Kasparov versus Short 1993. All right. Wonder how this list was created. This list, or wait, it continues, right? Or wait, sorry, I click on them. Okay, let's keep going. So 10th place, here we go. 10th place. Capablanca versus Lasker 1921. In Capablanca Lasker, the first world championship held after an 11-year hiatus partially caused by World War I, Jose Raul Capablanca won 4 games without any losses and 10 draws to finally wrest away the title from Emmanuel Lasker. The match ended Lasker's still record-setting run of 27 years as world champion. Maybe that's why it received as many votes as it did. Their contest was the first person to 12.5 points, but Lasker resigned the match after losing game 14. He was down 9-5 and without any wins, and it probably didn't help that he was playing in Havana on Capablanca's home soil. All right. So that makes sense. Okay, the next match to end tied for 10th place was the one immediately following the previous one. After only a 6-year hiatus this time, Alexander Alyakin took the title away from Capablanca. This time, the match was the first of 6 games, and unlike in 1984, those rules did produce an actual winner. Capablanca, who had previously never lost a game to Alyakin, dropped game 1, but rallied and held a 2-1 lead in wins after round 7. But he would only win one more game in the next 27 rounds. One win in the next 27 rounds before Alyakin finally got a 6th win in game 34. Garry Kasparov noted several missed chances for Capablanca to even the match score. In fact, he may have been incredibly close to maintaining the crown. Was there a condition that he keep the championship in case of a 5-5 score? Chess historian Edward Winter delves deeper than you ever want to know. In total, the match held in Buenos Aires took 2.5 months. The final game took 4 adjournments before the Cuban resigned the match and the title by letter. Here it is. All right. Okay, next up we have what? We have Karpov Karpov 1990. The third match, ending in a tie for 10th place, was decidedly more modern. The 5th and final Garry Kasparov versus Anatoly Karpov match affair was incredibly close, just like the previous 4. With their last match ending in a 4-4 tie and Kasparov keeping the title, the best of 24 could have gone the same way. The match was tied 6-6 after the New York leg, and after Kasparov built a lead in Lyon, Karpov rallied in the penultimate game to get within 1 point before Kasparov drew game 24 to win 12.5, 11.5. Overall, Kasparov won 4 games and lost 3. All 7 combined match victories came with the white pieces. His 4th and final win in game 20 set him up with a 2-point lead with 4 games to play. Not only was it critical for the match score, it was also beautiful and vintage Garry. Okay, so this game, by the way, just to give you guys some more old footage. I know there's some footage that exists of this, so let me see if I can find this. Just so you guys understand how good grandmasters were. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this up. This footage is grainy, so it's not going to be great. But let me unmute it. Let's pull it up. Look at those clocks, too. Look at that old clock.
Unhappy with. Queen e8. He felt this was a critical error. Does the champion share his opinion on this move?
Knight takes h6.
So he did not see this move?
He didn't. I didn't calculate it properly. I knew that it should win.
I saw you playing very quickly this
yeah,
move over the board.
I didn't calculate. It's just saw several lines. White's winning because I have 7 pieces in the attack. 2 bishops, 2 knights, 2 rooks, and rooks is attack to queen. He has some pieces protected. Okay, rook, 2 pawns, and bishop, and maybe queen. Okay, we can change. You know, it's an equal change. I change 1 attacking piece for 1 defensive piece, but I have enough pieces to make it.
So let's have a look. Knight takes.
h6, he played c3, you know,
and
to
now,
close this bishop.
why didn't he take?
Okay, if he takes here, it's very nice. I took knight takes d6. Now I can show you many good, interesting lines. Number 1, if he's trying to escape with his queen d7. Then I played queen g4. Queens. If he takes here, then bishop takes g7, mate.
So bishop takes.
Bishop takes, queen takes.
This is mate.
Mate, yes. If he takes
your queen
with
now.
the rook, wait, so yes. Then check. And he cannot
because of check.
And this is pinned. The pawn is pinned, and the king g8 is a mate in several moves. Bishop h7, bishop g6, and queen h7 mate. If he takes my queen, then it's a very nice combination. Check, the only move. Check, check. King f7.
Check.
Bishop g6. Check.
Check.
King g8. The only moves. Bishop f5. Bishop e6, king, bishop takes e5, check, and bishop takes b7.
And so you have a nice investment, which is a rook up after, after this combination.
Yes, and but it's not the end of the story. Actually, this line I saw at the board, but some other I found after. I just it proved that I was right. You know, in this position he could go queen h5.
It proved that I was right. Yes. It proved that I was right.
You cannot take here because knight f7 check and take the queen. If you take here, it's interesting, you know.
Knight check.
Check, king h8. Rook takes d1 and c3. And it looks very good for black because it's now the pawn is closed. Bishop is hanging, c2 is threatening. But suddenly knight f7 check, king g8, bishop g6, c takes b2, rook h5. And there is no defense.
Wonderful.
It's a mate, again mate.
It's wonderful.
It's mate again.
So you had the feeling for this position?
The feeling, yes. And final, I can show you the final. If he sacrificed queen, I mean, just in this position. If he sacrificed queen by playing queen takes e1, rook takes d6. Then I played queen e4, threatening mate, knight d3, queen h4 check, king g8, bishop takes g7, bishop takes g7, and queen g4.
And no defense. The rook cannot defend because queen takes.
Queen takes, and that's all.
And this is over. All the pieces are disconnected.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't mean Karpov saw it, but he.
Oh, by the way, you guys, you just noticed something. What? Wait a second. Why is the board so much? Wait, what? Why is the board? This is correct, but it's very weird. Wait a second. This is correct, but I've never. Wait, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is correct. But what? It's like they inverted the. They inverted something. No, but like I'm saying, did they make the sport specifically for TV? Because that's not how it works. The 1 should be the other way. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It should be going the other way, just like A, B, C, D should be going the other way too. Like the A should be rotated. It's like they made the sport specifically and rotated the letter. It's not an overlay. Very funny, you guys. It's not an overlay, but anyway, yeah. It actually looks very, very weird. I don't think I've ever seen a chessboard where it's inverted like this. It's very, very strange. Very, very strange. Anyway, all right, let's keep going.
This is over. All the pieces are disconnected.
Yes, absolutely.
Change the scene, Gary. Yeah, change the scene.
I don't mean
change the scene. Exactly. Change the scene.
He didn't take my knight.
He was confident in your calculations or in your feeling.
Maybe my feelings.
He was just confident.
Tried to close this bishop, you know. It's fine, but now this bishop is very strong.
So first of all, you gave 1 piece. Now you're sacrificing another piece.
Yeah, another piece. Okay, he killed this bishop, but this bishop now he cannot close it anymore.
And he gave you some tempi, which is important in chess.
Yes, absolutely. And I still have 6 pieces.
So 6 instead of 7. This is not a big loss.
But no, there's no pawn.
But 1 defender less, as you said before. So instead of 5, now 4 defenders.
Yes, and it's not enough. He played bishop c8, trying to
have some play.
Queen h4 check. If he goes king g8 and simply king h2 and no defense, knight g5.
Knight g5 and then queen h7.
And mate. Yes.
Mate.
He's trying to stop me. Rook h6, take, king h2.
Very strong move.
An important move, Just now my knight can go because rook is hanging without check. Queen e5, knight g5, king f6, queen f6, rook e8. Now I have only 5 pieces in attack, but just 3 defenders left. And it's just 5 very powerful.
So it was 7-5, 6-4, and now 5-3.
5-3, yes. 5-3, yes. And
so
anyway,
still the proportion is still very difficult.
But 5-3 is much more dangerous than 7-5. And for instance, any move, if you got bishop b7 here, then it says I have the same combination, but mate.
Immediately.
He made the only move just to avoid the mate in 3, but anyway, it's here I play this very nice move. Queen takes h6.
This is fantastic, because in a world championship, it is very unusual to have queen sacrifices.
Yes, this is true. Queen takes h6, knight f7 check, queen g6, and here it's unforgivable mistake. You should take with the rook. Yeah, I know, but I just wanted to take all his pieces, from the board.
Because after rook takes g6,
it's a mate.
You would mate him just by removing the rook next move.
Yes, this is true. Knight e7, then I took on e7, bishop takes e7, and rook g.
And rook mate. Here, checkmate, because no square for the king, and it is mated with the bishop.
Yeah, unfortunately, this bishop could... Okay, I took his queen with the bishop.
And I think the rest is just...
Okay, I have an extra rook again.
We are now about to witness the magic of Garry Kasparov. The world champion checks his calculations.
He's nodding his
head. It's really important to be accurate at a time like this.
He's also looking up too. Like, you see, everyone does the same things.
He has to restrain himself. Clearly, Kasparov's very excited.
Literally, you guys, everybody does the exact same thing. It's just the only difference is where we all look, but everyone does the same thing. Like, you see Gary, he just looks away and looks up. Like, everyone does the same thing. More looking away. More thinking.
One last check. Now the incredible move. Queen takes h6, sacrificing the queen. The time control's reached, and Kasparov lends Karpov his score sheet to copy up. And Karpov concedes. What an incredible game by Garry Kasparov.
Yeah. All right, so back to the article. Like that's actually really good. By the way, also one thing I would add you guys as well, one thing that you'll probably notice that's different is that there were actually people actually used to watch chess in person before technology existed. So like there used to be like 100 people who would go and watch in an auditorium. Now, of course, everybody watches on the internet, but that's sort of beside the point. All right, let's keep going. Number 9. Number 9 is Carlson versus Karjakin World Chess Championship 2016. The Chess.com countdown of the most exciting world championships in history continues to stay with 9th place, and you don't have to remember too far back for this one. Sergey Karjakin versus Magnus Carlson from 2016 in New York made it into the top 10 easily with 24 points, double that of the three matches tied for 10th place. Although just 2 classical wins were produced, there were still a host of side items to discuss. Carlson briefly trailed in the match, even though he was the heavy favorite. Karjakin's manager gave hilarious interviews. The public generally appreciated Judith Polgar's commentary style. Carlson pronounced that he generally doesn't believe in fortresses. Carlson walked out of the press conference following his one loss. The championship ended in a playoff with Carlson sacrificing his queen for forced mate. All right. Karjakin went into overtime. This is also the World Championship with the most Chess.com coverage. Below are some reminders of the most memorable moments. The final report with links to all the round reports is here. First, the famous delay that caused the champ to abandon the press conference. Let's watch this.
Okay, let's... okay, we'll wait a bit before we go to the press conference, but I want to thank you, Ian, for coming to the studio. It's been such a pleasure, and it became a dramatic game.
Yeah, suddenly I was lucky to get into the right moment. Yeah, the first decisive game was played.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a real enjoyment to analyze with you.
Thanks.
And can you please, Judith, sum the game up short? How did we get to this?
Well, I think Magnus really was determined to have a decisive game today, and of course this was not the outcome which he was aiming for, but he made quite a few interesting...
Magnus lost the
unexpected
game.
moves
This
to
was
me,
he
and I
lost
think
the game in the
gave a
match.
lot
That's
of
why he's upset
opportunities
here.
for Sergey in this game to take over, and actually Sergey was at some point kind of forced also to take and grab the opportunities, even though there were blunders when Queen D3. But I mean, Magnus really was so determined.
This is actually a long wait, though.
I
I don't know if Sergey made him wait intentionally or what happened, but yeah, there's whatever it was, there was some issue.
Understandable that he goes on. He wanted to have a decided game. I think the tension was so high already for both players. Well, here we have it. But Magnus can punch back. Obviously, he was in different situations, in World Championship situation also. Well, yeah, when he had to punch back, so he's absolutely the character who can do it. But it's going to be extremely difficult, but for both players, of course. But it's much more better to be in Karjakin's place at this point.
I think it's the first time we will see Magnus having negative score during the match, because he lost one game against Vichy, but it was an equal score after this. And now, when he has a,
But I think he's looking forward for new experiences.
But what does this do mentally to the reigning world champion?
Okay, yeah, that was that was rather sudden. All right. Okay, let's keep going with the article. All right, here's Karjakin taking the lead in game 8 with the first one of the match. Carlson then tied up the match in game 10. With the final classical game a complete dud, Carlson helped ensure his third world championship match would make our top 10 by winning 2 games in the Rapid. Here's the victory in the third Rapid game that put him ahead. Okay, I won't go through the games. Although he only needed a draw as white to defend his title, Carlson ended the match by playing perhaps his most electric move of his world championship match career. And this was, of course, this was a beautiful move, queen to h6 here, which ends the game, and there's a forced checkmate after whatever black's next move is. All right, so coming up next is number 8 on our list. Number 8, Vinick versus Bronstein, World Chess Championship 1951. With an amazing 10 decisive games out of 24 and several late lead changes, it is no surprise that Mikhail Vinick versus David Bronstein made the top 10 list of most exciting world championships of all time. The public was hungry to see Vinick over the chessboard again after his 3-year hiatus. That the challenger Bronstein was a highly creative player didn't hurt either. This match, which represented the first of 9 consecutive nine consecutive world championship matches held exclusively in Moscow, scored 29 points from our judging panel. It is also the first match in our countdown where one judge rated it number 1. Still, 2 judges left it completely off their list. So, because that's a picture of Mikhail Vinick. As for the match itself, it took place in the Tchaikovsky Concert Hall and had the key provision that the champion Vinick retain the title in the case of a 12-12 tie. That's a rule he would end up needing. Bronstein took the lead with the first win in game 5, then Vinick won 2 straight. After a few more wins by each player, the champ still led by 1 game with only 4 games to go. That's when Bronstein won 2 straight games to get to 11.5 points. He only needed 1 point from the final 2 games to become the new world champion. The finish to game 22, the one that gave Bronstein the lead, was especially sweet. But with his comeback against the wall and having only the comeback was especially sweet. But with his back to the wall and having only 1 turn with white remaining, Vinick kept his crown by winning in game 23 to pull level at 11.5 points each. It took a while, but eventually his 2 bishops broke through against 2 knights. By the way, you guys, if you see this game, this 2 bishops versus 2 knights, this is very similar to what you see in modern day chess, where players try to get the advantage and use the ops and win games very long term. So this is a concept that you see a lot even in modern day chess. All right. Bronstein couldn't make anything happen in the final game, so after only 22 moves, the draw was agreed, and the 12-12 tie allowed Vinick to retain the title. Reflecting back many years later in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, Bronstein said that while While there may have been some overt pressure from authorities, he was never told to throw the match. And it was his obligation to not bend to this pressure regardless. In fact, 4 decades later, he even seemed to prefer that history played out like it did, and he never became world champion. In those times, such a title meant that you were entering an official world of chess bureaucracy with many formal obligations. Such a position is not compatible with my character. Since my childhood, I have enjoyed freedom, and despite the country that I grew up in, I have tried to live all my years in the spirit, and I am very happy that today I feel the same and can enjoy my freedom. All right, so there's a lot of stuff that's not mentioned here, you guys, about this match, but those who aren't familiar with the history, Mikhail Vinick and David Bronstein, they were both players for the USSR, and there are a lot of rumors that in the 23rd game, that basically the Soviet authorities or the KGB told Bronstein that he had to lose the game or lose the match, or else bad things would happen, either to him or to his family. And so no one knows for sure whether it's true or not. I don't think it's really been proven either way over the years, but I suspect that probably it was true is what I would say, because the 23rd game was not a great game, and essentially, the rumor goes that he was told he had to lose the game, or basically him or his family would they would suffer the consequences, and I suspect that it was actually true. Looking back, having looked at some of the games in this match, especially at the end, I think it probably is true. Anyway, all right, let's keep going. Number 7, we have Carlson versus Anand 2013. Carlson versus Anand World Chess Championship 2013. Why would the KGB care? Because back then, chess was a national sport. I would say the two things that were very important in the Soviet Union were chess and basically music. And Vinick was sort of the pride of the Soviet system in a way that you will see later with Karpov. And he was the pride of the system. He was like the chosen one, and also, not to be like religious, but I know that the Bronstein was Jewish. I think there were some religious things that played into it as well, which were not good either. All right, Magnus Carlson had to venture to enemy territory to reach his childhood dream of becoming world champion. On 7th place on our list of 10 most exciting world championships of all time comes the ascendancy of the highest rated player of all time as he traveled to Chennai to play then world champion Vishwanathan Anand. It ended with 31 points and made all but two of the panelists list for multiple reasons. First, it was surely the only world championship match in history where the winner jumped into a pool fully clothed to celebrate. There's a picture of Magnus here. Carlson also showed dynamic play in all facets of the game. He won 3 and lost none as the match ended after game 10. Carlson's 6.5, 3.5 was insurmountable in the 2 unplayed remaining games. Here's the first one of the match, number 5. All right, so we'll skip the games. The match also represents the beginning of the modern era of Chess.com's news coverage. Cited just aligned with Chess Vibes, the all-news chess website. And while doggers may shudder at the effort, here's the video he produced while on site after Carlson's first win. I guess I'll watch it, why not?
The dark clouds in the Chennai sky on Friday did not predict a good fortune for Indian sports. On the same day that cricket hero Sachin Tendulkar made what was probably his last ever performance on the field as the legendary batsman he is, in the Hyatt Regency Hotel, chess world champion Vishwanathan Anand lost his first game in the World Championship match to challenger Magnus Carlson. Starting the game with the English opening, the 22-year-old Norwegian wonder boy played chess like he likes it, getting a small but long-term advantage out of the opening and grinding down the opponent in the endgame, profiting from small inaccuracies by the opponent. In an ending with rooks and same-colored bishops, Anand chose an active plan which seemed fine, but at the press conference he had his doubts. Probably affected by the feeling that he made a mistake, the Indian could not find the best defense in the rook ending.
I think it was a relatively interesting opening. I think it went quite well for me. I got some advantage. And then, well, I think I misplayed it a little bit in the middle game and it didn't really materialize. And at some point I missed his rook d4 on move 34, and I was worried that I might even be worse. It turned out it was a little bit more difficult to hold than I thought. I don't know.
I think it went
exactly
relatively well for me, yeah. Vishy's not happy there, you can tell.
When we got this rook ending, it's very, very difficult.
Anyway, all right. So, yeah. So, Anand, yeah, I mean, I'll need to remember that next time I play a chess tournament. If there are dark clouds outside you guys, I have to remember that if there are dark clouds, it's going to be a bad day. All right. Carlson then won again the very next game in another rook and pawn ending. He intentionally went from 1 pawn ahead to a 1 pawn deficit to force through his f-pawn. Alright, the game that all but clinched the match was game 9. Carlson won again as black in the most dramatic effort. Instead of a technical ending, Carlson got 2 queens in the middle game, seemingly allowing sorts of mating motives against his own king. Anon made a late error, and the mate never came. Alright, with a draw in game 10, Carlson's lead became insurmountable, and the match ended. Cue the pool, the champagne, and the 5 years and counting with his title. Alright, let's keep going. Number 6, Karpov versus Korchnoi, World Chess Championship 1978. Alright. The yogurt, the dissident, the psychoanalyst Vladimir Zukar staring from the front row. The 1978 World Championship match between Anatoly Karpov and Viktor Korchnoi had it all, and thus came in number 6 on Chess.com's list of most exciting World Chess Championships of all time, with 36 points. The Fool Circus in Baguio City, Philippines was enough to even inspire many parts of the musical chess, and more recently the documentary Closing Gambit reminded the public of other eccentricities of the match, like Korchnoi demanding to play with either a Swiss flag or a flag reading stateless. In the end, he used no flag. Korchnoi also wore sunglasses while competing, long before Hikaru Nakamura came to the board with them. For those of you guys who are wondering, let me find that. I'll find that, of course. Let me find that image. Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. So yeah. So here's this image. Just so you guys want to see it, of course. Here's a classic image of Hikaru Nakamura wearing sunglasses at the chessboard when he was playing Magnus Carlson. Of course, the goal was to make sure that Magnus could not hypnotize him with his voodoo of with all of his voodoo. So, all right. Anyway, let's keep going. Back to the article. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay. All the sunglasses in chat. Yeah. It might seem that chess was secondary, but not at all. After narrowly losing in their 1974 candidates match finals, which ended up as a de facto world championship match since Bobby Fischer forfeited a year later, Korchnoi was once again extremely close to the top of the chess mountain. The match was the first of 6 wins, and unlike Karpov Kasparov 1984, they actually got there. Karpov broke out to a 4-1 lead, and then it was up 5-2 when Korchnoi rallied, winning 3 out of 4 in games 28-31 to level the score at 5-5. Here's Korchnoi's clever idea in game 28, which still only made the margin 5-3. Okay. Korchnoi once again went for an ending the next game and outplayed Karpov in 79 moves to make the margin a single game. After Karpov quieted the momentum temporarily with a draw in game 30, Korchnoi went back to the well, the end game, to win game 31. He used yet another pawn sack, this time to break through with his king. But maybe the glare of Zukar or the color of the yogurt finally got to Korchnoi as he abandoned the Spanish and French in game 32 in favor of the Pirc, which he had used before earlier in the match. Karpov kept the queens on and kept the title. All right. The power of yogurt. Yes, yogurt is definitely, the yogurt is what it is. All right. Next up, we have number 4. This is Tal versus Vinick, World Championship match 1960. Coming in as 4th most exciting World Chess Championship of all time was the Battle of Michaels. Michael Vinick against Michael Tal in 1960. And of course, you guys, I'm going to say Michael because the joke is that Yasser Seirawan, he doesn't call people Mikhail, he always calls them Michael. So that's I think where the joke originates. All right. Perhaps surprisingly, this is the second time Vinick made the top 10 list, and not surprising at all, Tal makes the list. For many, his eccentric play and indefatigable attacks make him a favorite, despite his world championship reign lasting only about a year. Tal won when he was only 24 years old, which at the time was a record. It lasted 25 years until Garry Kasparov won at age 22. All right. The two had never played each other prior to their match. Consequently, the sitting champions likely had never faced such a style before. After only a few hours, he was already behind in the match. Okay. After a series of draws to calm things down, Tal struck again in game 6. This one was even more in his style, since Tal is nearly an eponym for unclear but sacrifice. All right. Tal won again the next game, taking a 3-game lead, but then got a little too frisky when his Benoni went down in game 8 and his piece sacrifice went awry in game 9. But Vinick would not win again after that. Tal picked up 3 more wins to close out the best of 24 match, 12.5 to 8.5. The win in game 17 basically ensured the title would change hands. The buildup was more modest by Tal's standards, but he did get to make a late offer of rook, which clearly could not be accepted. All right. Vinick would reclaim the crown the very next year, +10, -5 = 6, making Tal's time with the title about as short as they come, along with Vasily Smyslov. All right, let's keep going. Number 3, Karpov versus Kasparov, World Championship 1984. Coming in as the number 3 most exciting match of all time, the Karpov versus Kasparov match. This one beginning in the fall of 1984 and stretching out over more than 5 months and into 1985. This match was famously aborted, which surely added to its historical mystique in the eyes of the judges. In fact, it even ranked higher than the rematch later that year in which Kasparov beat Anatoly Karpov to become the youngest world championship ever at the age of 22. That match finished 5th in Chess.com's current team voting. Garry Kasparov in 2017. Of course, that's Gary Chess. The match ended without a decisive winner, with match rules awarding the title to the first player to win 6 games. Karpov led 5-3 when FIDE president Florencio Campomanes controversially halted this grueling battle. He cited players' health as the reason, despite both players wanting to continue. Here are some stats that will surely never be matched again in any title match. Counting the week before the official termination, the match lasted 5 months and 5 days. Of the 48 total games, 40 games were draws, including a streak of 17 draws in a row. Karpov led 4-0 after 9 games and had no fewer than 21 separate games to close out the match, but never got his 6th win. Karpov is estimated to have lost about 22 pounds during the match. Karpov began the scoring in game 3 when everything lined up on the B file, but he won the game on the E file. All right. In game 7, Karpov traded down into an easily winning game. It was his only win with queen still on the board. In his very next turn as white in game 9, Karpov gave a masterclass in why knights are sometimes better than bishops in endings. Despite pawns being on both sides of the board, the knights had all the targets while the bishops had none. And this, of course, is a very, very famous endgame that everybody has studied. Someone also said this is Geary writes, that's my kind of player. Yeah, 17 draws in a row is insane. Okay. Then in game 27, Karpov broke the long drawing streak and made it a seemingly insurmountable 5-0 lead and wins. That's when Kasparov fought back. So to put it simply, you had to win 6 games, and Karpov had 5 wins with, I think, like maybe 20 draws, and he needed 1 win to win the whole match. Anyway, Kasparov won his own queen ending in game 32, then won his black in game 47 with a relentless D-pawn that made the final 3 moves of the game. Karpov, who went about 3 months without a win, then got his 2nd win in a row the next game. Kasparov suddenly had all the momentum despite the 5-3 deficit when Campomanes ended the match. That would end up setting up the rematch later that year and Karpov's rematch clause in case he lost that one, which he did. The long Karpov-Kasparov rivalry was truly one of the most seminal moments, or rather decades, in chess history, and it all began with this match with no winner. All right. Okay. Number 2, Karpov versus Kasparov, 1987. Coming in at number 2 on Chess.com's list of most exciting world championships in history is the 4th installment of the epic clash between Anatoly Karpov and Garry Kasparov. By 4th, that means both the 4th chronological time they played a match and the 4th match to appear on our list. Recall that their 1990 match finished 10th, their 1985 match finished 5th, and their aborted 1984 match finished 3rd, and now their 1987 match in Seville, Spain finished 2nd. In total, 4 of the 5 Karpov-Kasparov encounters are in the top 10. That's fitting since none of the Chess.com content team put all 5 matches in his personal top 10. Everyone had 3 or 4 matches listed among the best. This is also one of just 3 matches to receive at least one first place vote. NM Sam Copeland had the 1987 match as his most exciting of all time. Recall that NM Dane Matson had already picked Vinick Bronstein 1951 as his top, 8th place overall. As you can probably figure, every other judge picked another match as their number 1. 2 other judges picked this as the 2nd best match, the co-directors of content Peter Doggers and this author. Interestingly, 3 judges left it off their list completely. So why did this 4th match in 4 years not grow tiresome to the public? Well, it was the first one not to touch Soviet soil at all, so that may have helped the West access the match in these pre-internet days. That kind of exposure may have even propelled him to some kind of notoriety, like an appearance a few years later on the Late Night Show with David Letterman, and then a season-long game by telephone with the host. All right, what's this? Wait, this is an hour and a half long? Wait, what? We'll just watch like 5 minutes of this, not much.
In the Soviet Union, where he lives, our next guest is a national hero.
The hair, oh my gosh, the hair is crazy here.
He beat his arch rival Anatoly Karpov and became the world champion of chess. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Garry Kasparov. Garry.
Right, so let me just put this here.
Hi, how are you? Pleasure to see you. Thank you for being here. This is very exciting for us.
For you?
Yes, for me. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. How long have you been in the United States on this trip?
6 days.
6 days, and this is your second visit?
Yes, second visit.
And what other than New York? Have you been all over the country or just in the East?
Just Washington.
Washington and New York?
Washington and one extra day in New York tomorrow.
Do you like what you see of this country?
Yeah, but I'm very busy usually. I saw the city through the window of my car in the hotel.
Yeah. What do you do when you're on tour? Do you play chess wherever you go? Is that the deal?
No. Usually I'm involved in different activities.
Yeah.
Like promote chess or have press conference or and invited to the shows.
I'm guessing now that chess is not as big in this country as it is in your country, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's pursued with a fervor in the Soviet Union. People are very excited about chess.
No, we had nothing to do.
Okay, that's really good. That's really good. Had nothing to do. That's pretty funny. By the way, yeah, Gary's English, definitely the accent has changed over the years. But that's pretty funny. Nothing else to do.
Oh, I see.
Drink vodka and play chess. Yep.
Yeah, that was the best way for self-expression.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we mentioned that you're a national hero. What is your life like?
National hero.
Yeah.
It's multinational state in our country.
A
national hero, if we have many nations in one country.
So you're a multinational hero.
I hope so.
Yeah. But what is your life like there? I mean, you in the Soviet Union.
I live in the sky.
You live in the sky.
Traveling, yes, around the country.
So you're always
Europe.
traveling.
Almost.
Yeah. Do you win a lot of money when you play chess?
I hope so. It's enough for me. Maybe it's much less than tennis players or soccer, but it's.
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
Now, when you played Karpov.
Yeah, what can I say? Gary chose the wrong profession. He should have been a streamer. It would have been better off.
For the World Championship. How much money was at stake there?
Oh yeah, I last match in Seville. Yes, I won a lot. It's about $700,000. But by the end, $700,000. Yeah, I won. But actually, I had by the end it's something like 10% of this sum.
Why is that? What happened?
I don't know. Just the dexterity of fingers, just my. It's magic, and it disappeared. I don't know. Unfortunately, it's our tax system is not really done. Yes.
Talk to me later about representation, okay?
Yeah.
And you started as a small boy playing chess?
Yes. You were? Yeah, small poor boy from Baku. This southern city.
How old were you?
It's better to ask my mother. I think I was about 5 or 6.
And how did you get interested in the game?
Oh, I watched the game played by my father and mother, and that was very exciting. Yes, just about moves, rules. Yes, Then I started to play. I came to the Pioneer Palace in Baku, and I.
What do you say?
Oh, just the dexterity of fingers, just my. It's magic, and it disappeared. I don't know.
Say palace or something else? What?
Unfortunately, it's our tax system is not really done. Yes.
Talk to me later about representation, okay?
Did he say pineapple or palace, or what did he say?
You started as a small boy playing chess?
Yes. You were? Yeah, small poor boy from Baku. This southern city.
How old were you?
It's better to ask my mother. I think I was about 5 or 6.
And how did you get interested in the game?
Oh, I watched the game played by my father and mother, and that was very exciting. Yes, just about moves, rules. Yes, Then I started to play. I came to the Pioneer Palace in Baku.
Okay. He did actually start to say, like, he said pie. He started. I don't. Maybe is there a Russian word, you guys? Is there a Russian word for palace that starts with a P as well? Yeah, it's like he wanted to say like pine house. Yeah, he said pine house and then he said palace. Yeah, he said pine and hala or something. What is the Russian word for palace with a P? And is it with a P? Yeah, it's not like he said pine house palace. That's what he said. Pine hala. That's what he said. No, it doesn't start with a P. Okay, then I don't know what it is. All right, then it's definitely weird.
Baku, and I had a very fast success.
Yeah.
About 10, I was a very strong player. I mean, even club player.
At 10 years old, you were.
Yes, I was.
Now, are there things about
Yes,
the game
yes.
that you still
I like that too. That was good. It's like yes.
Even club player.
At 10 years old, you were.
Yes, I was.
Now, are there things about the game that you still don't know? Can you learn something new about chess every time you play?
Absolutely. When I know everything, I will stop to play. Yes.
Yeah. Are there an infinite number of chess situations?
I think so, but nobody knows the number. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's enough for my life. It's enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, when you played Karpov, I guess the time before last,
Yes.
he was reported to be physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted, and considering checkers, from what I understand.
Yeah,
But how?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. But the match was interrupted, maybe because of this reason.
Yeah, but how can the game, a board game,
Yeah.
have that kind of an effect on a guy playing it?
A board game. Oh, look, the soccer match lasts for 90 minutes.
Right.
Yes, and tennis match 5 hours. But we play chess one tournament. It could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. This match has been lasted for
It was about
180 days, something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enough to be exhausted.
Now, do you do things to psych out your opponent, to give yourself an advantage going in?
I want to destroy his will. You know, I'm trying.
And how can you do that? What kind of things can you do during the game?
Okay, just look. It's I have a king of the opposite color, and I think that this king has a very alien, very bad will, and have to win the game against the enemies. And it's not so difficult, yes, you know. Not so difficult.
But do you behave in a certain fashion? Can you? Do you know what I'm saying? It becomes a separate game where you kind of get him worried about you, other than just the chess moves.
No,
like,
usually I have no time to worry because they discover they're losing. Yes, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you know from the first move of a chess master if you're going to win?
Oh, of course I'm convinced. Yeah, but. Yeah, but this is one problem, just to convince my opponent that he has to lose.
Yeah. Do you remember a guy years ago in this country, the champion Bobby Fischer? Do you remember hearing of him?
Yes, of course I remember. I never met him because I was 9 when he became world champion.
And he defeated Boris Spassky, is that right?
Yes, he defeated, yes. He was a prodigy of chess. I mean, he's one of maybe the best player ever.
And what became of him?
Became of him? Oh, okay. He won all games against chess players, but I think he lost his game against chess because he couldn't keep this tension of the game.
Now, how can you avoid doing that?
Oh, I like life, you know.
Yeah. What else do you do?
Oh my God, that's so bad. That is so bad. I like life. Oh geez. Okay. That's really good. I like life. That's a great answer.
In your life, you say you enjoy your life. Everything like what? Do you take vacations?
Like you.
Yeah.
No. This is my only problem. No vacations. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 3-4 days, but usually I have to change the subject.
Are they worried when you're in this country? The people back home, are they worried that you might defect? Being a multinational hero?
Multinational hero.
I don't think that's wrong, by the way.
No, yes, I think...
Hey, that's not ours.
No. Yeah, no,
That's a risky question, I know.
I'm sure they were in the past, but now it's... They can do nothing with it, yes, sorry. But I don't see any reason why I have to do it, because I can travel around the world. It's easier it's much better to sit on 2 chairs, you know. Because, I have so many friends, relatives, and fans in my country, and I can easily visit another one.
Are there a lot of girls interested in chess?
In chess?
Yeah, and you do you find you know?
Yes, yeah.
You're in the hotel late at night, knock at the door.
No,
I'm having trouble with the move.
I'm surrounded by men, you know, because there's a business, chess, there's a promotional tour, press conferences. It's a problem.
Yeah. Now, when will you defend your title?
But I'm solving this problem.
Yeah. Good for
time
you.
By time.
When will you be defending your title now?
1990.
1990?
1990.
Great. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much for being here. Garry Kasparov. We'll be right back.
That's really good, actually. That was really, really well done. Yeah, he didn't answer the question. That was pretty well done. All right, let's finish this up. Let me change the scene. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay. But the chess was the thing, of course. The match went the full distance as 8 of the 24 games were decisive. The final 2 games will be remembered forever as Kasparov blundered in the penultimate game and then won on demand in the final game to end the match 12-12 and keep his title. To this day, he is still immensely proud of that winning game 24. Before we get there, let's see how Karpov took an early lead. He won a game to his black with a convincing effort. All right. Then after 2 wins by Kasparov and 1 more for Karpov, the reigning champion took his first lead in game 11. It looked like Kasparov was just biding his time and may even settle for a repetition, but Karpov then went for too much and inexplicably put his rook on a verboten square. What really set this match apart, however, were games 23 and 24. By this time, Karpov had tied it again, and then yet another lead change occurred when Kasparov misanalyzed the tactic in game 23. Although far more complicated than Karpov's hanging of a rook, this one had the same effect. Kasparov later called his failed salvo the worst hallucinations of my career and a catastrophe. This game also, by the way, has a video which is listed below, so I'll watch this as well. This match actually has a lot of good footage from it. Yeah, so he plays rook 7 f3, which is a huge blunder, and loses the game. Just watch how fast those final moves came until the thunderbolt bishop h6, that is. Kasparov even neglects to write down this move. Let's watch it. Okay.
Kasparov ging vluggeren, waarschijnlijk in een poging om Karpov in de eerste zitting op een of andere manier te overbluffen. Ik heb toen ingegrepen. Ik zei, Garry, please, write your moves. En zijn reactie was, of course. En ik ging inderdaad keurig zijn zetten bijschrijven.
Boom! Look at how stunned he is. He's just, he can't even believe it. He's just like, oh no. Slap the clock with authority. He actually, yeah, he did slap that clock pretty hard, didn't he? If I go back, well, let me go back. Let me see.
En zijn reactie was, of course. En ik ging inderdaad keurig zijn zetten bijschrijven.
It's nice. He didn't slap it, but I mean, it was a little bit hard. It wasn't crazy hard, though.
In afgrijzen, kijkt hij even zo aan. Kijkt hij even naar rechts. Af. Zo. Zo, ja. Tweeënhalve maand, secondante teams. En alles wordt beslist. Met een potje vluggen.
These guys want to kill each other? No, because both players are low on time. So actually, one funny thing, you guys, is that in the old days, they had analog clocks. So these clocks here that you see where my mouse is, you don't know how much time you have left. So like when you see this position, I think Karpov still has time, but Gary's flag is hanging. So like you don't know if you have a minute or you have 3 minutes or what your time situation is. So before this was played, I believe, in 1987. So before digital clocks happened, you didn't know how much time you had. So if your flag was hanging, you literally have to just move fast and hope that your flag doesn't fall. So like, yeah, chess was very, very different back in the old days. Like even when I first started playing, there was nothing digital. So like you didn't know your time. It's like me playing online, and like I just see where I have to estimate how much time I have and not knowing. So it's pretty insane. It's very insane. Yeah, and also another thing, you guys, there are times where like there's certain clocks where if you hit the clock too hard, your flag would fall. So like there was a specific clock, I think it was called what was it called? This black clock. I can't remember. I think it was called the Droid clock or whatever it was. There was this black or quartz clock, and you would hit it really hard and your flag would fall. So so you also be very careful how hard you hit the clock when you made your move. Like if you think about Ali Reza, if he tried to play with normal clocks now, he would lose every game on time because he would smack the clock really hard and he would lose. Oh, by the way, yeah, sorry, this was 92, not 87. The title is wrong on the video, but yeah. So anyway, let's keep going.
Kijk naar de klok, vlag opvallen. Ja, het is voorbij.
Gary looks so unhappy. He looks sad. He doesn't even look angry. He just looks sad. He just looks so sad there.
Hij zegt kalm. Karpov. En nu heeft hij genoeg zitten gedaan. Gaat rustig achterover zitten. En beide beseffen dat hier iets is gebeurd wat niemand had verwacht. Misschien Karpov. Maar zeker niet Kasparov. Zeker niet alle journalisten.
I mean, I can tell with the boards, but yeah, it's not easy to it's not easy to see the position.
Wat zich hier afspeelt.
Yeah, now he's right. Yeah, but also, you guys, one thing that you probably don't realize is before digital clocks were around, you did not have to record every single move. So if you got down low on time, you just made your moves fast. And then you try to write down when you think you're at move 40. But like, you didn't know how much time you had, where you were in the game. It's just, no, in the old days before you got increment on every single move, you were not required to write down every move. So if you got low on time, you could blitz out a ton of moves to try to get to move 40. So until they added increment, you could actually skip moves, and I myself have done that on various occasions too, prior to the modern day with where you have increment on every single move. Yeah, you didn't have to write it down, but like if you ran out of time and you lost the game, you don't really know how much time you have. That's the thing. Although I don't know why they stopped the clock here. This I don't know. I don't know why they stopped the clock here so Gary could write down the moves, because that seems... This actually is kind of weird, because it looks like they stopped the clock here so that Kasparov can write down the moves, and that I don't recall ever being a rule. So this is like too gentle. This is like too much like gentleman, or too like, I don't know what you say, because that was never a rule where the clock gets stopped. Like you have to write on your time or your opponent's time, and that's that. The game is in the article, so I'll show you guys what happens. But yeah.
Merkwaardig. En ik denk, dat geeft een klein beetje aan de spanning waarin een man als Kasparov verkeerde. Die zette ineens de klok van Karpov weer aan, tegen de reglementen in.
And now they start the clock again, I guess.
Gary, eerst moet hij zijn zetten bijschrijven.
But now they stop the clock. So I will tell you, this also is weird, you guys, because never in my career when I've played chess is there a situation where they stop the clock. Someone's time is always running. Someone's time is always running. So this is something I never actually saw in my entire career.
Iets zeer merkwaardigs dat hij 1-0 noteerde en zijn handtekening zette. Het papier min of meer in onze richting, onze is Karpov en mijn richting wierp.
Oh, so they're saying Kasparov starts the clock, which is against the regulations?
Ik denk dat Karpov een beetje verbouwereerd was, want die stak zijn hand uit zo van, ik geef je de kans om me te feliciteren. En hij greep die hand.
Waar is het applaus?
Oh wow, Gary just resigned. So once he has time to think there and they're just writing the moves out, he just insta resigns, which is kind of weird. Just insta resigns because he's so disgusted by the whole thing. Anyway, back to the article. I think it was here. Yeah. So you guys see the game now. This is the position you see right here after rook c6. This is the position where Gary plays rook f3, takes, and there's rook c7 check, king h8, bishop h6, the thunderbolt, and after this it's I mean, the game is over because you're down a rook, and if you take the bishop on h6, your rook on f3 will hang. So that's what happens. So after rook d3, takes, check, rook g1, and here as they're writing down the moves, Gary resigns because he realizes, for example, Karpov can just move his bishop to b4 or e3, and he's completely winning because he has 3 pawns in the center that are going up the board. The d pawn in particular is going towards this d8 square, and it's completely winning. Again, the board, it's hard to tell on the actual board, but it was unfortunate. Whereas I would say, like, in this position, if we go back, you go back to this position, the game is very unclear here. It's not clear who's better or who's worse. For example, I think black can maybe take and go rook f1 check and queen f2, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, and Gary he blunders this this rook c7 bishop h6 move, and after that he loses. But the great thing is that Gary goes on to win game 24. And then a game for the ages. I can look back at my chess career and pick out more than a few crisis points, but only one Mount Everest, Kasparov wrote years later. He said he was being punished by Kaisa for not playing aggressively enough, and that he probably didn't deserve to hold on to the title without winning at least one game in the second half of the match. Game 11 was his last previous win. All right. So here's a video of Karpov resigning, and the thunderous applause that followed. Kasparov called it the loudest of his career outside of the Soviet Union. I had done what Karpov had failed to do in 1985, Kasparov wrote. I won the final game and had drawn the match to retain my title. This time, I would have a good long time to enjoy it. All right, let's watch it.
Ik zie daar een bord, ik zie daar een klok, ik zie 2 spelers. Ik zie één van de 2 spelers is in geweldige tijdnood. En die kan zijn zetten niet noteren. Nou, dan noteer ik die zetten.
Not sure why it's all in Dutch, but it is.
En ik zie een klok, dat is alles wat ik zie. En ik heb daar geen enkele emotie bij. Ik noteer gewoon, dat is mijn job. Emotieloos bezig zijn daar.
Microphone could use some work, right?
Toen er een vlag gevallen is, heb ik Karpov meegenomen van de wedstrijdtafel, van de speeltafel naar de wedstrijdleiderstafel. En daar heeft hij zijn zetten bijgeschreven. Want Kasparov was aan het nadenken over zijn 41ste zet, dame G2, die hij ook afgegeven heeft. Maar het was inderdaad ook weer een hele hectische situatie. En toen is iedereen zijn weegs gegaan.
Ja, Kasparov, denk nog even na. We gaan dus even de laatste zetten doornemen die tot die afgebroken stelling leiden. En dit is het laatste moment van Karpov. We laten hem even rustig alleen. En nog eenmaal laten we het slot zien van die 120 Kasparov Karpov.
You can tell Karpov's also very sad here.
Kampioenschap tussen 1984
He's talking to himself here.
87, die ik alle 120 niet los van elkaar kan zien. Kasparov weet het, hij gaat weg. En Karpov zal zich nu moeten vermannen. Hij moet opgeven. En dat is meer een fysieke daad. Hij moet het verkroppen.
The power walk? Yeah, the power walk. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I played Karpov in a serious tournament. I never played Gary in a serious event.
Ik denk dat ze allebei zo in de band waren van met name de afgebroken stelling, want vanaf dat moment zijn ze aan het analyseren gegaan. En Kasparov heeft op alle mogelijke manieren proberen aan te tonen dat met name de ZH5 van Karpov en zijn gevoel de beslissende fout was. En ze blijven maar analyseren, 8 minuten lang, terwijl daar nou niet honderden, maar echt duizenden mensen waren. Er waren 3000 mensen in het theater en in het casino wat erachter is. En ik geloof op het moment dat die scène zich afspeelt, dat alle 3000 mensen inderdaad in het theater waren. Het was, ik heb het al eerder gezegd, een dolle boel. En ze bleven maar analyseren. Nou, om later.
Also, to add something else to this video, you guys, one thing that's different now versus the old days is that nowadays, since we play on digital boards and games are like relayed in real time, we can't actually analyze on the board. That's one thing that's really annoying, is that nowadays when we play these games, I think many of us would like to, we would like to analyze at the board, but we actually can't do it because then it messes up the relay on the board. So back then when there wasn't a relay, they could just like change the position, analyze, do all these different things, but now you can't do it, unfortunately.
En dat is links in beeld Campomanus. En dat houdt in dat iedereen razendsnel verdwenen is. En dan tot slot.
Just cut the relay wire? Exactly, you guys. Just cut the relay wire, totally.
Met een lege zaal.
Yeah. All right, you guys, let's go back to the article. So yeah, so let's cover the final one. This was, of course, the greatest match of all time. Not even close, by the way, I would say, which is the match between Fischer and Spassky, World Chess Championship 1972. The most exciting World Championships of all time countdown ends with a nearly consensus pick: Bobby Fischer versus Boris Baskey in 1972 in Iceland. The match tallied an amazing 72 points with 8 judges. The maximum score would have been 80, which was 35 points higher than second place. Fischer versus Spassky was the only match that every single judge voted for. 6 of the 8 panelists from the Chess.com content team ranked it number 1. NM Sam Copeland had it second place, and NM Dane Matson ranked it third. Recall that their votes for first place were Kasparov versus Karpov 87 and Vinick versus Bronstein 1951. All right. The winning match will come as no surprise to those readers following the list of the top 10, as omitting it would be the editorial equivalent of blundering scholars made. While the match did not come down to the final game, it did have plenty going for it to win. Plenty of Cold War era overtones, as the Soviet Union often equates chess dominance with intellectual and educational superiority. The ideal of the solitary man, as Fischer was almost an island against a cadre of players and government officials assisting Spassky. Fischer's remarkable run in the interzonal and Canada's matches, where he won 20 games in a row, the final 7 in the interzonal in Spain, 2 6-0 match routes against Mark Taimanov and Bent Larson, and the first game in the finals against Tigran Petrosian. Fischer threatening did not attend the match at all, even eliciting the intervention of U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, who phoned the American to plead with him to attend. Live coverage provided in the U.S. with NM Bruce Pandolfini and Shelby Lyman, helping to later inspire a Fischer boom of American clubs and tournament players. The dull draw in Game 1 getting turned on its head, with Fischer's profligate 29 bishop takes h2, which has become one of the most analyzed moves in chess history. Fischer's forfeit in Game 2 and the related conspiracy theories of cameras, chairs, and electronic bugs. The match even moved to a private game for one room upon resumption, or to a private room for one game upon resumption. The quickness of his comeback, including his first ever win against Spassky in Game 3 with 11 knight h5, a move so surprising it is even its own t-shirt. Overall, 9 of the first 13 games were decisive, something we may never see again in a World Championship match. The first ever official World Championship for an American, ending a run of 10 consecutive matches won by Soviet players. All of the media, Hollywood movies, documentaries, FBI, and KGB files released decades later, where the chess public is still learning more about this match to this day. Pretty true. If you're feeling the intense buildup from this article, just think about how it must have felt in 1972. On to the games. In the opener, Fischer went recklessly pawn grabbing, which cost him the point, but in doing so, he set the tone as a fearless player that wouldn't settle for quiet draws. All right, so this classic position right here, where here Fischer plays the great move, bishop takes h2, and after g3, he promptly gets his bishop trapped on g2. Now, the funny thing is, upon analysis much later on, it was proven that the game still could have ended in a draw, thanks to the fish of the stock, but at the time, Fischer made some inaccuracies, and in this position he played f5. I believe in this position, was it king f5? Was it king f5? And I think after king f5, this actually would have ended in a draw, And the reason this ends in a draw is because what happens is black can tuck his king away in this corner here on a8, and with 2 pawns each, and white having a bishop and a king against a king, the game ends in a draw. However, that being said, I would say that we shouldn't feel too bad because there's a very similar situation where let me see if I can pull this up, where another player, a very prominent American player, resigned in a very similar situation. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me pause this. There's a very famous moment where another American player would promptly resign in a very similar situation. So Bobby should not feel too bad, because even the players who would go on to precede him would resign in similar situations. Let me see if I can get to this end game. If we get to this end game, it's not a roast actually. It's just an end game here. Yeah, we have this classic on each game. And in this position, you see on the board, if black takes the pawn on b4 here, b6, king b5, I think it's losing, but there is a version of this where it's not losing. Let's keep going. So b6 gets played here, and yeah, in this position, Sam resigns, right? Yeah. I mean, I'll show this to you very briefly what it was. Let me go back to live chess. Let me change the scene. I'll show you exactly what it was. So let me create a new analysis board. I'll show you why it's a draw. Let me do this. Okay, let me get rid of the pieces. 1 second, you guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this position where black resigns is I think it was like this. I mean, it doesn't really matter where the pieces are. But let me just put the king like here, pawn here, and a white bishop here, and it should be legal moves only. All right. So yeah, so this position is or wait, I said legal moves only. 1 second. Okay. So this position is actually a draw, and the reason that this is a draw, you guys, is what happens is you get this position, and what Sam is arguing is he's like, well, the bishop cuts off the king can't get to the corner, but the thing is, after black waits here, white can't do anything. Even if you get here and white moves the bishop, I just wait forever on these 2 squares. Why did that happen? Let me put the bishop here. Basically, black just waits forever on these 2 squares, and you have no way to ever win because the king can't get back, and whenever you come here, I just bring my king here. Why is it messing up? Sorry. And after king d6, for example, like here, it's just a draw. There's just no way. There's no way to win the game because you can't force the king. The king just sits some combo. Let's say you force the king to the corner. You still can't win because this is stalemate, and the king just sits forever on these 2 squares, and it's an easy draw. Nothing white can do to win the game. So that was like the explanation of that game and what happened. But anyway, let's get back to the article. All right. So back to the article. So this would have been a draw. Anyway, the point is Bobby makes a mistake. He goes on to lose this game, and with it he loses the first game. Let's scroll down. The next day, Fischer dug himself into 0-2 hole and lost one of his turns with white when he refused to show up because of the proximity of television cameras. The match moved to a ping pong room for game 3, where Fischer struck back with a night posting that is now immortalized on a t-shirt by the Q Boutique in St. Louis. All right. There you go. Knight h5. All right. Spassky stabilized the situation briefly with a draw as black in game 4, but then Fischer won the next 2 to take the lead. Game 5 knotted the match at 2.5, 2.5. After the reigning champion fell victim to a blunder reminiscent of Fischer's candidate's opponents, Fischer fever seemed to still be contagious, much like a certain something 19. All right. Fischer took the lead in game 6 by playing the Queen's Gambit for the first time in his life. The movie Pawn Sacrifice called this effort the best chess game of all time. While the superlative is highly debatable, it was a punishing effort by Fischer and the opposite of winning via one-move blunder. Here's the Hollywood treatment of Game 6. All right, man, so many YouTube things today. Let's watch this.
See what happens. Fischer has agreed to return to play in the main.
All right, I'm not gonna watch the whole thing, so let's get going. Where's the resignation? Let's go here. As I think I've mentioned, let me get back to the article. This, of course, would never happen for a wide variety of reasons. First of all, as I would say, in a match formation, in a match format, you never do that until the match is over. Like if it was the final game of the match that you lose, it's one thing to do that because there are no more games. But you would never do that in the middle of the match because that's giving your opponent a huge psychological advantage by like basically complimenting them on their play. You never do that in match format. Because basically you don't want your opponents to gain more confidence, and all that does is give your opponents more confidence. So you would never do that in the middle of a match ever. All right, so let's keep going. It's true what you saw in the film. Spassky really did applaud with the audience following the game. Fischer picked up another game in round 8, then won again on his next tournament with White to make the score 6.5 to 3.5. You just don't do it. Yeah. Oh, Spassky did clap. Yeah, I mean, I guess he did, but I would never do that. I would never do that. Magnus would never do that either, to be clear, because you don't do that. That only emboldens your opponent's confidence. And when you're in a match, you need to win. You want your opponents feeling as bad as possible about themselves. So that's a huge psychological blunder. You should never, ever do that. Big mistake. Big mistake. If it's the last game of the match, and like, let's say, for example, you lose the last game to Magnus, for example, and he keeps the title or something like that, that's completely reasonable. But you never do that because that you only build up your opponent's ego, and you don't want your opponent feeling more and more confident. You just don't do it. That's just a huge mistake, huge psychological blunder. That's like if Magnus, when he lost to Sergey, if after the game he applauded him for winning that very long end game in 2016. You don't do that. You just don't do that because you only build up the confidence. Can I really speak for Magnus? I mean, he's never done it. I mean, because nowadays in chess, you don't do that. You don't build up your opponent's confidence. You don't want them feeling good about themselves. You want them feeling uneasy and uncertain. So no, nobody would do that. Nobody would do that. He instead didn't come to a press conference. Yeah, I suppose, but yeah, it's just not. You just don't do that because you only help your opponent. Anyway, all right, let's keep going. Spassky got his best win of the match, and next round to briefly make it interesting. His only other wins were the first two rounds. The speculative bishop takes h2 game and the forfeit. In fact, Fischer was crushing the Najdorf poison pawn variation. His only loss ever as black in that opening. Wow, Fischer only lost one game ever. That's amazing. Fischer then uncorked Aliekin's defense in round 13, but it is the ending that this win will be best remembered for. In case you are wondering, don't believe the equivalency you were taught as a child. 5 passed pawns beats a rook. Here's the praise heaped upon this game from another World Championship challenger, David Bronstein. Of all the games from the match, the 13th appeals to me most of all. When I play through the game, I still cannot grasp the innermost motive behind this or that plan or even individual move. Like an enigma, it still teases my imagination. So yeah, this was game 13, which I believe won Fischer the match, but you'll see that he has uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco pawns, and White has a pawn on g7, a rook, and a bishop. Too many pawns, and it's just 5 pawns are better than a bishop. So anyway, just to get to the end of the game, you'll see that what happens is black has a connect 3 here, so he can use the king and the pawn at f4 to win the game. And you'll see, just no need to show exactly, but black ends up winning the game. And it says Fischer rode out his lead with 7 consecutive draws, and then won the title when Spassky resigned by phone in a losing position in game 21. The final score is 12.5, 8.5 for Fischer. And so when they say resign by phone, when games would go more than 4 hours, there would be what we call adjournments. Nowadays with computers, obviously it can't happen. But at the time, you'd go back to your room after like move 40, you'd analyze all night with your trainers, then you would come back and resume the game the next day. Because without computers, no one was really sure what was going on. So Spassky probably went home to his room. They were analyzing. He concluded it was helpless, and then he resigned. He resigned by phone. All right. Yeah, so, and as you see, this is the move that Spassky resigned, because the reason he resigned is there was an adjournment where the players went back and looked at it with their trainers, and he concluded that he had no chance. Okay. Will Caruana Carlson 2018 live up to this 1972 match? The short answer is, of course, it did not. Will it even make a future of top 10 list of most exciting world championships? Probably not, because of all the draws. We will all find out soon. Let us know in the comments if you think the upcoming match could possibly top any of the other ones from our list. All right, so that was a very long article, of course, going through the World Championship matches. I hope you guys enjoyed it. At least there was a lot of good footage that I actually had not seen quite a bit of these videos, but at any rate, that's what it is. I'm going to take a short break. You guys are going to come back, and I think I'm going to play some Blitz. So I'll be back in a second. I also, of course, need to use the restroom, so let me put the music back on, and I'll be back in a jiffy, you guys.